Without them, there would be no United States of America. The Founding Fathers, a group of predominantly wealthy plantation owners and businessmen, united 13 disparate colonies, fought for independence from Britain, and penned a series of influential governing documents that steered the country to this day. All the Founding Fathers, including the first 4 US presidents, at one point considered themselves British subjects, but they revolted against the restrictive rule of King George IE, outlining their grievances in the Declaration of Independence, a powerful call for freedom and equality, and won a stunning military victory over what was then the world's preeminent superpower. Today, we will discover the untold stories of America's Founding Fathers. So let's find out. But before that, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Number 1. George Washington. Before he fought against the British, George Washington fought for the British, serving as a commander in the French and Indian War. A prosperous Virginia farmer who owned hundreds of enslaved people, he came to resent the various taxes and restrictions being imposed on the colonies by the British Crown. Once the Revolutionary War broke out in 1775, he was placed in charge of the Continental Army and soon suffered a near-disastrous defeat at the Battle of Brooklyn. More defeats followed. All in all, Washington lost more battles than he won. Nonetheless, he kept his ragtag troops together even through a freezing winter at Valley Forge, and with the help of his French allies was able to expel the British by 1783. Washington then returned to Virginia intent on resuming his career as a farmer, but he was persuaded to re-enter politics as head of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, believing that a stronger federal government was needed to preserve the nation. In 1789, Washington was overwhelmingly elected the first president of the United States. He is aptly known as the father of his country. Number 2. Alexander Hamilton. A poor orphan born out of wedlock, Alexander Hamilton emigrated as a teenager from the British West Indies to New York, rising to prominence as an aide-de-camp to Washington during the Revolutionary War. He became an impassioned supporter of a strong central government. After attending the Constitutional Convention in 1787, he wrote the majority of the highly persuasive Federalist Papers, which argue for the Constitution's ratification. Washington then tapped him to serve as the first U.S. Treasury Secretary, a position he used to push for the creation of a national bank. Later immortalized on the $10 bill, Hamilton was killed in an 1804 duel with his bitter rival Aaron Burr, the sitting vice president. Number 3. Benjamin Franklin. Early America's foremost Renaissance man, Benjamin Franklin was a skilled author, printer, scientist, inventor, and diplomat, despite a formal education that ended at age 10. When not designing bifocals, harnessing electricity, playing music, or publishing Poor Richard's Almanac, he worked constantly on civic projects to improve his adopted city of Philadelphia. In the beginning of the American Revolution, Franklin was appointed to the 5-member committee that drafted the Declaration of Independence. He then traveled to France, where he secured French assistance for the war effort and helped negotiate the 1783 Treaty of Paris, the official end to the conflict. Just prior to his death, Franklin served as a sort of elder statesman at the Constitutional Convention. Number 4. John Adams. A distinguished Massachusetts lawyer, John Adams became a relatively early proponent of the revolutionary cause. Just like Franklin, he served on the committee that wrote the Declaration of Independence, journeyed overseas to secure French military aid, and helped negotiate the Treaty of Paris. He chaired other key committees as well, and even found time to draft the Massachusetts Constitution, which is still in use. After about 10 years of diplomatic service abroad, Adams returned home in 1788 and subsequently became vice president under Washington. Following Washington's 2 terms, he was then elected president, serving from 1797 to 1801. In a striking coincidence, Adams and his friend-turned-rival-turned-friend Thomas Jefferson both died on the same day, July 4, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Number 5. Samuel Adams. The second cousin of John Adams, Samuel Adams was a political firebrand who drummed up immense opposition to British policies in Boston, a heart of the resistance. Believing that the colonists were subject to taxation without representation, he joined the Sons of Liberty, an underground dissident group that at times resorted to tarring and fevering British loyalists. Adams likely planned the 1773 Boston Tea Party, and in 1775 his attempted arrest helped spark the battles of Lexington and Concord, the first skirmish of the Revolutionary War. Unlike many of the founders, Adams was staunchly anti-slavery. He signed the Declaration of Independence and went on to serve as governor of Massachusetts. Number 6. Thomas Jefferson. Well-educated and prosperous, Thomas Jefferson was a Virginia lawyer and politician who came to believe the British Parliament held no authority over the 13 colonies. In 1776, he was given the immense task of writing the Declaration of Independence, in which he famously declared that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As Secretary of State under Washington, Jefferson clashed constantly with Alexander Hamilton over foreign policy and the role of government. He later served as vice president to John Adams prior to becoming president himself in 1801. Number 7. James Madison. A close friend of Jefferson's, James Madison likewise grew up on a Virginia plantation and served in the state legislature. At the 1787 Constitutional Convention, he proved to be perhaps the most influential delegate, developing a plan to divide the federal government into 3 branches: legislative, executive, and judicial, each with checks and balances on its power. This plan, which was largely adopted, earned him the moniker Father of the Constitution. Madison next co-authored the Federalist Papers and, as a U.S. congressman, became the driving force behind the Bill of Rights. He was elected president in 1808 after serving as Jefferson's Secretary of State. Number 8. John Jay. Not nearly as recognized as his founder cohorts, John Jay nonetheless played a pivotal role in the creation of the United States. A lawyer, he originally preferred reconciling with Britain rather than fighting for independence. Once war broke out, however, he wholeheartedly joined the side of the colonists, serving, among other roles, as a diplomat to Spain and linking up with Franklin and Adams to negotiate the Treaty of Paris. Upon returning to the United States, Jay served as Secretary of Foreign Affairs under the Articles of Confederation and authored a few of the Federalist Papers. In 1789, he became the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, and 6 years later he was elected Governor of New York. Number 9. Patrick Henry. His immortal words still ring out today: "I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." Yet Patrick Henry's path to that moment was paved with 2 failed business ventures, several career changes, and the horrible, tragic death of his beloved wife, Sarah. Patrick Henry's life teaches us that success often comes after failure. The moral to the story: never give up. Number 10. Thomas Paine. A great intellectual writer and fierce revolutionary, his many works are highlighted by his publication Common Sense. John Adams said of the pamphlet, "Without the pen of the author of Common Sense, the sword of Washington would have been raised in vain." Thomas Paine is a revered figure among American patriots then and now. Yet, without the influence of another founding father, Paine would have never made his way to America. His revolutionary thoughts and religious beliefs had worn out their welcome in London, and it was Benjamin Franklin who suggested he might find a better audience in America. Thomas Paine barely survived the trip to the colonies and arrived extremely ill. It took 6 weeks for him to recover once he landed in Philadelphia. Thankfully, he survived, and his words went on to spur the motivation to stand up and fight the tyranny of the king. Physical challenges can make us stronger. This was all for today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Also subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for watching more videos in future.